Good evening and welcome to our X Spaces. My name is Silence Mkazoweta. Today we bring you a discussion on health issues, looking at our health system, specifically looking at renal and cancer diseases issue. I will be co-hosting this space with Julian Lela. And to join us discuss this, we have a panelist comprising of Dr. Joannis Marisa, who is a health public specialist, Nompumelelo Samambwa, who is a renal patient, and we are still waiting for another patient, Abel Katito, to join us. And we also have Michael Guarisa, a journalist and editor of the Health Times. To give context to this important discussion, we are looking at issues that are affecting a number of people in which it has become a crisis of sort, because investigations by our publications have shown that there is critical shortage of equipment that is needed for treatment um, for renal patients and cancer patients. So we would like to understand from the perspective of experts like Dr. Jonas Marisa, so that we understand the issues surrounding the treatment that is needed and what the country needs in terms of resources. Then we also we also want to try and understand from patient perspective on the issues or problems that they are facing in terms of accessing treatment, and what they feel certain intervention that can be done by the government or its partners in order for them to have adequate treatment and care. So according to the National Cancer Registry, in 2017, a total of 253 childhood cancers between the age 0 to 14 were recorded, and they comprised of 151, which is 57% boys, and 102, 40.3% girls. Pediatric cancers accounted for 3.3% of all cancers reported in 2017. This is according to the World Health Organization. Then the report breaks down the different cancers that have been found and recorded in 2017. According to the International Classification of Childhood Cancer, leukemia it was 21%, renal tumors 13%, lymphoma 10%, and others that include central nervous system and soft tissue comprised of they were at 9%. Then if we are looking at the renal disease, just for understanding and for audience to understand, we are talking about kidney disease that is damage to one's kidney, and it requires specific treatments that specialist focused. Then we are looking at cancer. It's a condition where cells in a specific part of the body grow and reproduce uncontrollably. Now we will start with Dr. Johannes Marisa, just to give us his experience so far and what is currently happening within the space of renal and cancer diseases treatment. Dr. Johannes Marisa, you can come in. Dr. Marisa, if you can hear me. I think we can't hear you. There's an echoing sound. May you please unmute? Dr. Marisa, if you can hear me, may you please unmute and well, while we are waiting for Dr. Marisa to come in, Michael Guarisa, may you please accept the invitation to speak, and you can go ahead and give us your experience with, you've been covering these issues extensively. Probably can give us what you have discovered so far and how you understand the situation. Michael, if you can hear me, may you please accept the invitation to speak? Well, I think there's a bit of some technical issues with our speakers, but I think Nompule Melelo can give us your side as a patient who has been affected. Nompule Melelo, if you can hear me, may you please unmute? Nompule Melelo, if you can hear us, may you please unmute? Well, it seems like there are technical challenges facing our panelists, but while we wait for them, just to alert listeners, we have just joined us. We are discussing health issues, specifically renal and cancer diseases, looking at our public health delivery system, where investigations by our publications have observed that there are serious challenges in terms of access to treatment and availability of equipment to cover these issues or to help patients who have been affected by. So I think in one of our reports, our investigations revealed that cancer and kidney patients in Matabeleland were stranded because critical machines needed for treatment in Pilo were not working. And this is in June. So this discussion will help us map a way forward, understand what patients are facing, and probably understand the kind of support that patients need from healthcare professionals in the community, and the improvements that patients would like to see in the renal care system. Then I think out of this discussion, we're also expecting to understand from an expert, Dr. Johannes Marisa, the root cause of the challenges facing the renal units in hospitals across the country, specifically at Parenyatwa, and then how the shortage of essential medicines and equipment affects patients, and if anything, the interventions that are needed to make sure that this is solved so that patients are not left stranded. Dr. Marisa, if you can hear me, may you please unmute? You can unmute and give us your submissions. Julia, can you confirm you can hear me from your end? Can you confirm you can hear me, Julia, from your end? Dr. Marisa, if you can hear me. Dr. Marisa, can you confirm you can hear me from your end? Dr. Marisa, can you confirm you can hear me from your end? Michael Gorissa, if you can hear me, may you please unmute and go ahead and give your submissions. We apologize for that technical glitch. May you please be patient with us while we sort our sound so that we can have our panelists speaking. We apologize for that technical glitch that is affecting our Twitter, our X space. Now, our discussion is on cancer and renal disease treatment and the issues that are surrounding it, including patients that have been affected by the issues. We have Dr. Jonas Marisa, an expert in public health, Nompumelelo Samambwa, a renal patient, and Michael Guarisa, editor of the Health Times. Nompumelelo, confirm you can hear me from your end. Dr. Marisa, please confirm I'm audible.
Yeah, yes. I can now hear you.
Yeah, I think you can go ahead right into the discussion. I think we would like to understand from you what has been the impact of these shortages of critical equipment for renal and cancer patients, and if anything, what can be done to have this solved, and what does that mean to those patients?
All right, all right. Thank you. We apologize, of course, for the technical glitches. I know everyone want to hear about that. We take this opportunity to everyone who is on this platform now. We say God bless you. I am told we have some patients, renal patients already on the platform, and these are first-hand people that we will be talking about, and they've experienced a lot of problems, I think, in their journey. So anyway, let me say, uh, we are you getting me?
Yes, yes, yes. We can hear you.
Yes, yes. All right, all right. Let me say this is a very and thing that you know is not about cancer and renal and kidney that are giving us problems.
Dr. Marisa, I think we are losing you in moments. I think it could be probably your network might not be stable. I think where you are. Confirm you can hear me from this end. Dr. Marisa, confirm I am audible.
Yes, very much audible.
Yes, you can continue. We had lost you.
All right. So I was saying, yes, we are burdened by these two critical diseases or diseases. The cancer one that cancer contributes globally, with cancer taking at least 10 million lives in this world every year. And we have kidneys contributing to about 5 to 7 million deaths every year again in this world. So in total, we have at least 17 million people who succumb to these two problems, cancers and renal problems. So this is a very that we want to talk about. What is that so many patients, especially when it comes to the late stages of these diseases, so many patients cannot afford the rightful treatment. But what I want to say,
We have lost you again. I think your connection is not stable. Now, Nompumelelo is a patient. We would like you to share your experiences back and forth in hospitals and what she thinks needs to be done for improved service. Nompumelelo, if you can hear me, you can unmute and share your story.
Good evening. Just want to say thank you for giving us this platform to share our experiences. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of my journey with renal failure. I was diagnosed with end-stage kidney failure in April 2020, and this was caused by uncontrolled hypertension, which I was diagnosed when I was 19. And the diagnosis of renal failure was then when I was 33. So when I was initially diagnosed with renal failure in 2020, I was a cash patient. And at first it was a bit manageable with the help of my family, mostly my mother, and a lot of family members, my mother's friends, my friends, and just different well wishers. But, going forth, it became a bit unmanageable because it's really expensive when you're paying cash. Because when I started dialysis, it was $80 per session, and I needed 3 sessions a week. So at first we managed to pay for those sessions, but going forward, I had to reduce my dialysis sessions to 2 times a week because we just couldn't afford it anymore for me to be on constant dialysis. And as time went on, I started going to dialysis once a week, and things got even worse. And sometimes I would go maybe once in 2 weeks or once in 3 weeks, which was very bad because it actually makes your kidney situation a bit worse. So going forward, I had a well-wisher who put me on their medical aid, because we even had tried to get me a medical aid to cover my dialysis, but unfortunately, most medical aid societies, they start covering after 18 months to 24 months for dialysis and chemotherapy. So after my well-wisher put me on their medical aid, things got a bit better. But unfortunately, the certain medical aid had their issues, and there were times when they wouldn't pay our service providers. So the service provider would actually then tell us that if you don't pay for dialysis, if they don't pay for our dialysis, we would not receive any dialysis. So there were so many times in the past 2 years since I've been on the medical aid that I had to miss a dialysis session because the medical aid had not paid the service provider. I'll take you back a little bit. Before I was on medical aid, I tried um, to get my services from a public hospital. But I remember the first time I tried, one of the nurses from the renal unit had the nerve to tell me that in court, the cool private hospital, go back to private hospital. We don't have space for you. That was the wrong way to put it, but in all honesty, it was the truth. Because at the time, they had, I think, about 6 or 7 dialysis machines that were working, Um, all the other ones had broken down. It was only 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, when I was admitted in Parenya, when I managed to get um, dialysis from a public hospital. And in all honesty, the nurses, they are very caring. They do their job very well, but they're they're ill equipped. There's nothing more that they can do. So I'll take it back to when I was talking about medical aid not paying. At the time when they were not paying for that certain medical aid society, you know, there are a number of people who then got critically ill. They had to be admitted because they were not receiving dialysis. And there are also stories that, other dialysis patients that I follow, like on social media, especially on Twitter, that I then found out that they lost their lives because they couldn't get dialysis at all, or just adequate dialysis. And the other problem is in public hospitals where people can get free dialysis. Um, Most dialysis patients, especially if you have end stage kidney failure, you really, really need 3 sessions a week, but they cannot offer that because there are so many people who are banking on the free dialysis from the public hospitals. So they end up having to only get 2 sessions a week, of which for a lot of people it's not enough. And so after experiencing all these hurdles, I decided to start a WhatsApp group and a Facebook group where we just share our experiences as renal patients. And during the period when the said medical aid society was not paying for patients, of which a lot of the patients in the group are under that medical aid society, I realized that something had to be done. So um, myself and the group, we started, um, we kind of wanted to start an association, but we realized that already we don't have money for our treatments, and we can't afford to register a trust or an association, so to speak. So I then took it upon myself to start a documentary, and I've been working on the Renal documentary for the past, I could say, 4 or so months. And the stories that I've encountered, the stories that I've heard, it's really heartbreaking. Um, there are people who are coming from different cities or towns outside Harare, coming to Harare for dialysis. And usually, for a lot of patients, if not all, you're always weak after dialysis, and it's really not conducive for someone to be on public transport traveling for like an hour or more than an hour to and from dialysis. And that's when I realized that I think our policymakers really have to consider having at least a few dialysis machines at satellite clinics so that people don't have to travel long distances to receive dialysis. And on top of that, even if they are to come to, for example, Harare, I'll speak for Harare because that's where I'm based. If they are to come to Harare for dialysis, a lot of times they are asked to bring their own consumables, and the consumables are quite expensive, and they're a bit scarce, and there's no way anybody can do dialysis without one or two of the consumables on the list. And so on top of, needing transport money and just your medication, our medication is really expensive. The medication that we have to take on a daily basis, whether you're hypertensive or you're a lupus patient or you're a diabetic, our medication is really expensive. And also, there are certain injections that, every dialysis patient needs. For example, erythropoietin, that helps with our red blood cells. It's just not for renal patients, even for chemotherapy patients, we need that. And, a patient can probably need 20 or more dollars for those injections per session or once a week, depending on how bad their situation is. So on top of just paying for dialysis, the medication, and the stress of just traveling hours or so many kilometers just to receive treatment, it's very rigorous and it's really taxing on our bodies and on our mental health. For now, I think that's what I can just say.
Well, thank you so much, Nompumelelo. We'll come back to you just to understand a bit more about your journey. I understand you have explained
Okay, thank
quite
you so much
extensively.
for that, Nompumelelo. Silence, can you also confirm that I'm audible?
Yes, you're audible. Can you hear me?
Okay, thank you so much for that. So we're still having a bit of a technical glitch for the doctor there and on Guarisa. So our healthcare sector is deteriorating and critical machines are constantly down. People have to buy their own medicines and most of the time. And right now, Nompumelelo is sharing how much she had to go through to get some care. So I want to talk to Mr. Guarisa. Mr. Guarisa, can you hear me? Mr. Guarisa, can you hear me? I think everyone is having a bit of a technical glitch. So Mr. Grace has been reporting extensively on the situation on the ground. So I wanted him to give us an overview of how the sector is like. For someone who has been reporting extensively on the sector, can Mr. Grace, can you now hear me? So he's saying we should unmute him, but I think
Well, I think he has dropped off. I think it's because of his unstable connection. I think we can
I think we're
we
failing
can
to get to Mr. Grace. I'm really sorry to throw it back to you again, Nompumelelo. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. So you were speaking about the economic situation and so on. Can you please maybe give us a bit of an overview of what do you think can be done for someone who's been even shooting a documentary, creating a WhatsApp group, and even creating a Facebook group? Can you maybe tell us what do you think can be done, maybe to try and address those situations of having to improve our healthcare sector in the public health sector?
I'll just speak mostly on renal care because that's where I lean on the most. But I think my points will just cover everything else, every other disease. Honestly, before I started the documentary, I did a bit of research on how renal treatments go, up, how they are conducted like abroad and regionally. And I got to find out that with public health, everything is for free. For example, if you need like the injection that I spoke about, that's very crucial for chemo and renal patients, the erythropoietin. it's usually provided for free. And I think if we could get to a point that where, especially in public health, that this is provided for as part of the service at the hospital. And before we even go to treatments, I feel like issues to do with renal failure, they are not publicly known as much as, for example, AIDS, HIV and AIDS, and cancer. So I think, first of all, there needs to be an extensive approach when it comes to educating the public about renal diseases and the causes for renal diseases. For example, myself, when I was diagnosed with hypertension at 19, the only thing that I knew that I was at risk was a stroke. I didn't even know that it's possible for me to get kidney failure. I knew it existed, but I didn't know that hypertension was one of the reasons. And from speaking to various renal patients, just in my day to day or during the shooting of the documentary, I actually realized I'm not the only person who didn't know what causes kidney failure, or that if you're diabetic, or if you have HIV and AIDS, if you have hypertension or lupus, you can actually end up with kidney failure. So first of all, I think there needs to be public education, and we need a whole lot of noise when it comes to kidney diseases, as much as we have noise when it comes to cancer and HIV and AIDS. And I really feel, this is a personal opinion, I really feel like the public institutions are kind of trying us as renal patients, where today you say, oh, we don't have dressings for your catheters, so you should bring your own dressings. So the moment that, a number of us are okay with coming to dialysis with our own dressings, they realize that, oh, okay, we can actually just forego supplying dressings. Then the next thing, they're asking us to bring dialyzers, and we just go ahead with it because we need the service. Then they realize, oh, okay, we can actually also just forego providing the dialyzers. Then the next then the next time they're asking us to bring lines. So at the end of the day, it looks like we are actually just going to be buying all of the consumables that we need for dialysis, which is not fair if you're saying you're providing a free service for renal patients. So that's one. Two, I really, like I said before, I really feel like there needs to be dialysis machines, even chemotherapy services at satellite clinics, not just like big hospitals, and just also not just focusing on private treatments. If we could have, a number of dialysis machines in every city, in every small town, even in the rural areas, because I I heard a story the other time when I was doing my research at a public hospital, where there was a very young kid who needed dialysis, and he was from Murewa. Unfortunately, adults and kids, they need different types of machines, so I hear. And the only other option they had was to use, for example, peritoneal dialysis, which they can do at home. But you really need to have a clean environment for you to have safe peritoneal dialysis. Otherwise, you'll get infections. But how are you going to be able to make sure you have that if you are staying in the rural areas and
Nompumelelo, I think we have lost you. Confirm you can hear me. I think we have lost you. Now, we have just been joined by Michael. Michael Guarisa. Michael Guarisa, you help us understand the coverage of renal and cancer issues.
Okay, thank you, Silence, and thank you, Julie, for your patience. Hey, the technology is being playing game. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. You can go ahead.
Okay, great. So I think from what I have observed as a general ability of services. The second one is accessibility of services. Then the third one is affordability. So from what I've observed from my interactions with patients, both renal and cancer patients, they indicate that yes, services are there in our public health institutions and they are for free. But the problem now is, for example, Parenyato Hospital is probably the biggest referral hospital, and everybody is coming to Parenyato, just like Nompimelo was saying. So everybody is coming from wherever, from all the four corners of Zimbabwe to Parenyato, and the hospital is currently now, I would say it's burdened by the huge number of people that is coming through just to get treatment. For example, you go to the cancer department, that is the radiotherapy department. The machine has capacity to do 35 patients or 30 patients, but they're now doing around 50. And right now, from my understanding, there's a waiting list that they have to they have to clear first. There's a backlog that they have to clear, and they are booked up to the end of September or probably early November. So what it means is if you are sick right now and you want to go and get treatment at Parenyatwa, you want to go and get the radiotherapy, whatever, done on you, you can't get those services done because they have to clear the backlog that is there. So that's the biggest problem that is there. Then you look at also accessibility. Like I was saying, people are coming from all over Zimbabwe just to get services from Parenyatwa, be it dialysis. You go to B10, that is the dialysis unit at Parenyatwa right now. You see people are there. The queues are very long. Every day you go there, you see people trying to get services, but some of the machines have broken down. So the services are there, but they do not have the capacity to actually service each and every patient that is in need of services. So from what I've gathered, I think there is need to decentralize services, just like Noam Pumelelo was saying. We can't have services happening at Parenyatwa, whereas somebody can access services from Chinoi, from Mashingoro, anywhere in Zimbabwe. But right now, the situation is like everybody has to come to Harare. Everything is centralized in Harare. People can't get services from wherever they are. That's why we're continuously having the breaking down of machines because they are working over time. They are not supposed to be working or saving the number that they're saving, but because the demand is very high, there's nothing to do there. Then you also look at the issue of catastrophic costs. Speaking to patients, and cancer patients, Nompumelelo also touched on that, whereby patients have to part ways with a lot of money. Even though services are free, there are some other hidden costs that are behind. For example, the issue of transport, the issue of food, the issue of accommodation when patients come to Harare to get treatment. All those things now they come into play and they contribute to catastrophic costs. I think I would say it's any expense that chows or that takes away 20% of your income, let's say as a family or as an employee, if 20% of your income is going towards medical bills, then you are probably suffering catastrophic costs. So that's the challenge that our patients are getting for both renal and radiotherapy. So my parting shot is, I think there is need to decentralize services. There is need to capacitate and equip health facilities, even at primary healthcare level, so that they can actually be able to deal or to handle cases both of dialysis and cancer. So that would be my submissions. I hope I was audible throughout. Thank you, and over.
Yes, 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 you're audible, Michael. But now you have been in the media space covering health issues. Now, from you, we would like to understand whether is the media doing enough in terms of documenting the journey by patients, issues that are affecting patients, and probably doing something to push policy changes in terms of availability of and improvement of healthcare systems.
Yeah, I think I would credit our media, local media in Zimbabwe, for actually covering issues to do with non-communicable diseases, the likes of cancers, the likes of kidney issues. But the problem is, for what I've noted is there's only hype around the days when we commemorate, whether it's World Kidney Day, whether it's World Breast Cancer Day, Cervical Cancer Day, it is, but apart from those, we prioritize other issues like business and politics at the expense of health. But you find out that health is our day-to-day thing, and everybody, even for a journalist to report a story, they need to be healthy. Some of our journalists are actually, experiencing these NCDs. And some of them actually losing their lives to some of these diseases. We've lost so many comrades in the industry to cancers, to kidney issues. But we only raise issues, we only raise concern when we've lost our own. But when it comes to really raising awareness, trying to promote, good health-seeking behavior on a day-to-day basis, I would say we are not doing enough, and we are not raising enough attention and awareness regarding lifestyle. Some of these diseases are lifestyle issues. They come by because of the lifestyle that we lead. So if we are to change our lifestyle sometimes, we might actually avert some of the challenges that come with it. But because we are silent as the media, we are promoting other issues at the expense of health, we end up, where we are right now. So yeah, in a nutshell, I would say yes, we are covering, we are doing our best, but it's not enough. We could do better than this.
Well, I think yes.
Well, I think yes.
We can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I had concluded.
Thank you so much for your contributions. I will come back to you shortly. Now we would like to hear if any of our audience would like to ask questions, share contributions while we run this up. Now back to you, Nompumelelo. What do you think? We have talked about. The risk of missing treatment due to problems like transport, let alone the unavailability of expensive consumables that are needed. Then you've also touched about public hospitals, which is an issue that has been over discussed in terms of, so what is the ideal situation, what is the plea by patients of renal and cancer diseases from your understanding?
First of all, I know that medical aid societies we cannot lie to each other and say they are out there to help patients. They are not. They are out there to make money. But if it was possible that maybe they reduce the waiting periods for, till one can use their medical aid to receive chemotherapy or dialysis. That's one. And two, if there were premiums that were affordable for everyone, so that just anybody from any walk of life can afford to receive treatment, especially for chronic diseases. That would be really great. And also, there's also an issue of exorbitant shortfalls. For example, the medical aid that I said that I was saying that I am on. There's a time when at the moment, I think most dialysis centers, I'm not sure about chemotherapy, they're actually not paying for shortfalls. But there's a time where you'd probably need $50 and above per session for shortfalls. That is just not possible for a lot of people. Already people are suffering and struggling to get other medications and transport and just dialysis itself. And $50 a session it's a bit too much. And besides just for dialysis sessions and chemotherapy sessions, the shortfalls on medication are also just too much. It's not something that an ordinary Zimbabwean can afford. So I don't know if there could be a way to subsidize when it comes to medication and dialysis sessions. I don't know if it's possible that maybe shortfalls are scrapped off. Probably not, because we're talking about a lot of dialysis patients are actually now in private treatment. So I'm not sure if it's possible, but I just really wish that our policymakers could actually look into that. Um, Sorry, can you repeat your question again?
I'd asked about the risk of skipping treatment.
Yeah. Okay. You had a follow-up question after that. I You had a follow-up question after speaking of the risk of missing dialysis sessions.
I asked about the expensive consumables. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, so I really wish that if it was possible for our government hospitals to be well equipped so that people can actually get 3 sessions per week. Because, for example, if someone has to undergo a transplant, let's say you then decide to have transplant, you will need at least 3 sessions a week for 3 months straight. And as it stands, a lot of people will not be able to, so to speak, pass the test for transplants. So besides just day-to-day living, just working towards having a solution to your problem like getting a transplant is it's very impossible if we are under dialyzed, so to speak. So frequent and adequate dialysis is very important. Besides just like I said, day-to-day life, if we are to think of the future, and because not a lot of people can actually be on dialysis forever. There are people, for example, there's one guy that we have on the documentary who's been on dialysis for 25 years, but he does not enjoy that. If he had had a chance to have a transplant, he would have grabbed the opportunity to do that. So besides the dialysis issues, we actually also need a transplant center in Zimbabwe. I feel like if we did, it would um, it would probably be a bit cheaper than say going to India, Turkey, or South Africa, or recently Zambia has started doing transplants. But it's really expensive. And I feel like a lot of people have not received renal transplants because it's just really expensive. And besides that, we, like I mentioned before, there needs to be a whole lot of education when it comes to renal diseases. There's a whole lot of myths that surround organ donation in African societies. This is also from my research. People don't believe in organ donation. So if we could also just have our policymakers, us as renal patients, and you as journalists, if we could work together and just educate the public when it comes to organ donation, I feel like a lot of people's lives would actually be saved, because I've actually seen a lot of young renal patients dying where they could have survived if they could have gotten um, a transplant. So I think that's another solution to our problem if we could have a transplant center. But it seems like a very far-fetched dream because as it stands, we can't even get dialysis. So it's a bit bleak for us, and it's for us to dream about um, getting a transplant center in Zimbabwe.
Well, thank you so much for your input and contribution. You have talked about myths that are surrounding organ donations, and you feel that probably the media and policymakers need to educate people on the possibilities and make sure that people understand that it's quite possible to have these organs. It's nothing spiritual, and it can actually save lives. You have also highlighted the need to strengthen our healthcare system so that life can be saved when it comes to renal and cancer patients. We now open our floor, and we have Veke Nguni. If you can hear me, you can go ahead and ask or share your thoughts on our discussion.
Oh, thank you so much, Salbonani. My name is Begezela Mkoni, and thank you for having such an informative and insightful conversations. I do not have much to say, but I'm thinking maybe around the issue of raising awareness and educating people. We need to raise awareness on maybe signs and symptoms to look out for. And when we're educating people about kidney failure, let's also target people who are not on social media. People do not have access to the media. I'm saying this because I lost my friend in March who had kidney failure. I think he was diagnosed and he could not live beyond 2 months after being diagnosed with kidney failure. The cost of buying a dialysis kit when you're not working, it's a lot. Maybe if we could be educated and know what to look out for so that you are able to maybe seek medical attention when it's early. Because I have a feeling maybe he sought medical attention when it was too late. And besides the cost, because my friend had to go to Mpilo Hospital twice a week for the dialysis. For someone who's not working, you end up giving up because you're telling yourself, I don't even have the money to continue with the dialysis if I have to live with this for the rest of my life. So it's difficult. Again, you mentioned the issue of policymakers. If we could have policymakers advocating for the government to maybe channel some funds towards improving our hospitals, because it's so difficult. I mean, you're not working and you're supposed uh, to be forking out money for dialysis kit. It becomes heavy. You end up giving up and you are telling yourself, I might die because I won't have enough money to keep doing this. So thank you. But thank you so much for having this conversation. We are learning a lot. Siyabonga.
Well, thank you so much. I think I do agree with you in terms of early diagnosis to protect and make sure that people, when they are diagnosed early, treatment will actually be much effective compared to a situation where there is late diagnosis. Now, as we round up our discussion, we go back to Michael Guarisa. Michael, we are closing our discussion, but we'd like to understand from you. Before you come in, there is Makumalo. I think from our audience, Makumalo, you can go ahead and ask questions and probably share your understanding of the situation. Makumalo, you can unmute and share your contribution.
Hi. My name is Norma, and I'm also a dialysis patient. And you know what? To be honest, I use both the private and the government dialysis facilities. And what Nompumelelo was saying about you miss out on dialysis sessions and you end up being sick. That happened to me in January. I missed, I think, 2 weeks of dialysis, and I started having seizures, and I was in a very bad state. And when I was in hospital, I came across so many patients that were just starting on dialysis, and they all didn't know why they were going on dialysis. Like, when you start dialysis, no one explains to you, our doctors in government hospitals, no one actually sits down and explains to you what is dialysis, why are you going on dialysis, what caused your renal failure. And when you even start, if you ask so many patients right now, what is a renal diet, they do not know, because no one has explained what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do, how to take care of your catheter, and stuff like that. Most patients, you come across them, like maybe we're in the waiting area, we're just having a discussion, because I love talking to people. So I talk a lot and I get to know a lot of people when I'm waiting and stuff. And I always come across so many people that, yes, they're on dialysis. They just know they are supposed to come for dialysis. They do not understand why they are coming. They just know, you know what, I have to leave, I have to go to dialysis. They don't even understand that you need dialysis, one. Two, they don't understand why they're on dialysis, what caused the dialysis, what was the underlying reason why they're now on dialysis. And people, and they don't understand the importance of the diet on dialysis. And I feel like even our nurses and stuff, they don't even tell us. They don't even tell us how to take care of our catheters. No one has time. As Nompumila stated, the government hospitals, one, they're understaffed. They do not have the right equipment to help us out. And there's no education. Like, if I tell you how many patients I see starting dialysis. It's insane. You guys do not know the numbers because most of you guys are not on the ground. Go in those wards, like in C from C3 to C9. There's always a dialysis patient every day coming. And my question is, are people not getting educated? One, we have all this World Kidney Day, why not, why not, why not? But on those days, what are we really doing out there? You know, you find it's on TV for like what, 20 a minute, and that's it. But how are we spreading the word out there to prevent this disease? Because trust me, most of the times it's actually preventable with education, and we need to.
Well, I think we have lost here, there. But I think there's also another request from our listeners. Tendai Marumbedza, may you please come in and give us your short observations, questions, or any contribution to this discussion?
Thank you so much, host, and thank you so much to the panelists and also the audiences. I just found this topic very informative and educative. I just wanted to contribute and say, from the panelists we have been discussing, I just joined late, but I could figure it out and see that we have brilliant minds and we have people who think outside the box. So I was just suggesting and asking to my panelists and say, you have the knowledge of exactly what is happening when it comes to renal and cancer disease. Is it possible for you guys to come on a table where you can maybe form like a group where you'll be educating people, discussing these issues, maybe on a monthly basis, something like that, where people they have to come and interact and they have questions, together also with those who are also affected with these diseases. Also, they also know where to go and get much knowledge. Because if we look at the government hospitals, for example, of course you cannot get all of the knowledge. But with the internet that we have today, everything is digitalized. We have to maybe perhaps have a round table where we discuss about these issues. Sometimes people they spend a lot of time discussing about social media stuff that is not very important. So you can imagine if there's an online platform where people they discuss about these important things, and a lot of people, their family members, we are affected by this kind of disease. They will be appreciative to go and read for themselves. They will be appreciative to interact with someone else face to face via online platforms. And also, I just want to appeal to the writers, be it journalists and so forth. We have a lot of young Zimbabweans who write a lot of good things that they write. Are they writing about these things? Newsday is hosting today. I know Newsday, they always write about a lot of stuff and topics. But can we do this often? Let's write more about these things and educate our people. That is my plea, so that we can also reach those in the rural areas and so forth. If they can get a magazine and it's explaining exactly how it affects, because I remember back then, 2005, there was a family who lost someone because of cancer and so, but they could not even know that it's cancer. You know, when you're in rural areas, just talking about witchcrafts and so forth. But later on, they realized that it was cancer because they don't have the knowledge. You can see. So there is a gap that need to be filled, especially with the panelists that are well educated, that are here. We have the versatility, who knows exactly what is taking place. Let's share the ideas and see if we can help those who don't have the knowledge. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tendai, for your contribution. Indeed, as Alpha Media Holdings, we have 3 publications: Newsday, Zimbabwe Independent, and The Standard. We are going to take up the challenge and make sure that we continue speaking about these issues that affect different patients in their respective areas. You also thank you for the feedback that you are giving us. Now we move on to Dumisani, and after Dumisani, we then have the Rosy Queen. Just give us your short contributions as we are rounding up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, clearly.
Yeah, thank you so much for your for hosting this X space discussing this pandemic. I think it's of grave concern. I was on dialysis for 1.5 years in Zimbabwe until, fortunately, I was able to relocate to some country elsewhere abroad. Apparently, you can see the difference in terms of care. I've said to friends and relatives that if I had not relocated exactly at the time that I did, I would be dead today. I wouldn't be alive. There are a lot of critical issues that need attention in Zimbabwe, but I would pray that our media put to the fore the need for funding of the healthcare sector entirely, not just the dialysis and cancer. But I think it's important for me to just give you an insight of what I went through when I was in Zimbabwe. I was dialyzing at Renal Hospital. My session was at 3 a.m. in the morning. I would huddle with a few patients on the benches at Renal, and mind you, this was also illegal. Was at times security would tell us to get off because we were not permitted. We were only patients when we were on dialysis, not when we were waiting for dialysis. So we would huddle at the benches at Renal waiting for dialysis. It was, and I'll tell you a number of those that I used to huddle with at the benches are all dead, and I'm not exaggerating. That's how critical the situation is. I was in Zimbabwe a few weeks ago, and can you imagine the hospital where I am right now? They were they were concerned about my situation if I went back home. Imagine you are going back home. I'm here as a migrant, but they are concerned about my situation if I get back to my own country. Yeah, can you imagine? They had to give me several medications, including, I'm sure some of them have been highlighted by Nompumelelo, and thank you so much for highlighting the plight of dialysis patients so eloquently, Nompumelelo. And I don't want to forget, Julie, you did a very insightful article in the Zimbabwe Independent. Yeah, thank you so much. But there is much more that can be written about dialysis patients. The situation is dire. So I was in Zimbabwe a few weeks ago for 3 weeks. The hospital where I'm currently living had to give me all the critical medicines because they were sure I would be in a very difficult spot if I went back home. When I decided to come back, apparently I had some, let me call them leftover medicines, including what we call erythropoietin, which is an injection that is required for dialysis patients every time you go for a dialysis session, because we no longer produce hemoglobin. So you need an EPO injection and erythropoietin injection to help the body produce hemoglobin. So I had some leftover medication. I called a friend
a colleague, a fellow renal patient whom I dialyzed with at Parenyatu Hospital. My friend, I have this leftover medication. If you are interested, come and have it. And he told me, I have not been on dialysis for a month because I don't have, I lost my job. I cannot afford the consumables that they want for me to dialyze. So when I came back, I had to ask a friend to get in touch with him because he was no longer contactable on WhatsApp. The next thing I heard, he had a stroke. I don't know if that's fortunate because a month without dialysis normally means death. But I don't know if a stroke is anything that I would want to have. I would rather die, you know. So the situation is bad. We need funding. Our health care workers are not motivated. That's a fact. They need to be taken good care of. So it's a gamut of issues. Yeah, but I'll just end there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dumisan, for your contribution. Now we move on to Rosie Queen. May you please give us your contribution?
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly.
Yes, clearly. All right. So I was wondering if it would be a possible or realistic thing to then take this to the people in terms of looking at versions of crowdfunding and then just raising funds for things like the consumables and other things that people are willing to contribute to pay for, because I feel as if we wait for the policymakers to wake up and pay attention to what's happening, we will lose a lot of time, whereas we can huddle up together and find a solution. Tega, like share crowdfunding, because I've seen a lot of other cases online where people ask for money and they get it. So do you think that would be a possible thing?
Well, thank you. I think it's quite possible. I think from us as the media, I think we can have partners that can help us raise and magnify the core for mobilizing funds that will be directed to certain hospitals or certain individuals. But it's something to consider. Thank you so much for your contribution. Now, as we round up, Michael, as we round up, we would like to understand from you what sort of partnerships can be done between the media, the government, and other institutions that can help, be it raising awareness, be it influencing policy, and making sure that the knowledge gap is closed. I think we have another technical challenge there from Michael. Thank you so much, our listeners, for hearing us and listening to this great discussion, where we're discussing issues around renal and cancer diseases, which have been a bit of a problem since many patients have been affected, and there's been lack of adequate supply of equipment and medication. Our panelists raised a number of issues, which include the risks of missing treatment by patients, issues to do with medical aids not helping patients to access treatment, and again, the issue of knowledge gap in different communities from experience and from a front seat experience by patients in our discussion. They highlighted the fact that a lot of the patients don't even know what will be happening to them and the processes that are involved in acquiring treatment. We thank you so much for joining us. We hope you continue supporting us. We are Alpha Media Holdings, publishers of the Newsday, the Standard, and the Zimbabwe Independent. And we also have a teleradio Tenso broadcasting services. You can follow us on our social media platforms, or you can download our mobile news app, which is available on Google Play Store for now. We are working on making it available for Apple users. We thank you and good night.